negative things, right? Because that's what we want to focus on, because the changes are sometimes, when you change something, almost always some companies hurt, right? Some of you are going to do better on the bottom, right? So that's positive. Some of you will do worse, that's negative. Things like the rate of return seem to hurt everybody, but in reality, we've been operating under a budgetary control system for forever, right? I mean, pick your poison. Is it a rising NACPL? Is it a pro rata budget adjustment? Is it a reduced rate of return? I mean, to a certain extent, people are going to get pinched. And so we have a tendency to focus on the negative. But the reality is, I think, we're in really good shape. We don't hear that a lot at these conferences. But the companies of the future that succeed are going to be just like the companies of the past. They're going to be those that turn and face the strain. They don't run away from these issues, but they really aggressively run toward them. They learn about them. They use the rules. They use their customers. They use their networks to maximum effect. And I have read the state history of every state association in this area, and I've read the history of a lot of your companies, and things are really good now. When your company's founded, some of them 100 years ago, there was nothing. They didn't know how to run these networks. No network existed. They were out trying to connect just point-to-point networks. They didn't have money. And they had to go and convince these farmers of value of something that the farmers didn't really see the value in, right? And then you think about the aerial lines that they were stringing at the time and how quickly an ice storm would rip those down. A tornado would rip those down. They would just spend literally weeks building back up that network. Think about your teams now, right? How much smarter are we now than we were 40 or 50 or 60 years ago? We have more financial capital in the rural industry than ever before. We have more human capital in the rural industry than ever before. How many great switching experts do we have? How many great hosted PBX experts do we have? And I'm not talking in the consulting class. I'm talking about in your companies. And so it's fun to be pessimistic, right? It's fun to talk about Henny Penny and the sky is falling and Chicken Little. But the bottom line is there are going to be a lot of Minnesota and Iowa and South Dakota and North Dakota and Wisconsin companies that are going to do very well over the course of the next decade or two. And I just know in my heart of hearts that when we show up here, this is, if this isn't the very biggest state telecom conference in the country, it's very close, right? We can debate about Texas or Iowa or is TOC a state conference or a 3-state conference, but this is the major leagues. And I just know when we all come here 10 years from now, 2 things are going to be true. Number 1, people are still going to be listening to the Beatles. And number 2, that there are going to be a lot of very successful companies here. Now, maybe it won't be 45 operating companies in Minnesota like it is today, but there's going to be a lot of very good companies doing very well.